Hello there. Welcome to a review of two TV shows at once. I'm doing a dual review of Marvel's Disney Plus MCU shows. And this video is a review, but it's also a video, an attempt to convince those of my friends. I have friends, and I'm sure I have viewers as well who are burnt out on Marvel, kind of got tired of it after Endgame, not really excited about these Marvel shows. This is also a convincing video to convince people why what they've made so far, at least, WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, are actually worth watching. So that's kind of the purpose of making this video. Their third show, Loki, comes out a week from today. So I'm kind of I'm getting this video out a little, rather than reviewing those two shows as they came out, I'm getting this video out a little before Loki to convince you why you should care at all about the Disney Plus shows. It's also just to get some content out because my PC's been having some internet issues, so it's like I have like videos ready to go, but the uploading is, a problem. So this I can record on my phone and upload from my phone, and then there's no issue. And I'm trying to get out some content. There will be more Fear soon. There will be more all sorts of things soon. But enough about that for now. This is a review of WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And this is where if I put the video, if I threw an editor, I would put up like some title cards or something. But I'm not going to do that. We're just going to talk. It's unscripted. It's unscripted ramblings. So WandaVision started January-ish, went into February. I was already intrigued by this one just from the basic premise of this one. This one kind of has a Twilight Zone-y, like, interesting premise of like Wanda and Vision living in this like fake sitcom together. And obviously Vision, spoiler alert for Infinity War, dies in Infinity War. And so it's like, how is he alive? Why are they in sitcom realm? What's going on? There's a mystery there. I love a good mystery. So I knew I was going to like that show. What really surprised me is that Falcon and Winter Soldier, which from the marketing on my thought process is, oh great, the Falcon, I don't care about him. Oh great, the Winter Soldier, I care about him even less. What is this buddy cop dynamic they have? The marketing for Falcon and Winter Soldier is kind of trash. It portrays the show as like a buddy cop show, and that's kind of not, like, that's not really what it is. There are elements of that in their dynamic, but it's not really buddy cop. I don't like the marketing really focused on those two's dynamic, which was honestly, considering what I liked about the show, a very weird thing to focus on. Because that's not really what I thought was great about that show. But that show I was like, oh, it's just going to be these two characters buddy copping around and throwing out Marvel clips. Like, who cares about... And then I actually watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I'm like, oh, this is also really good. This is also some of the best content Marvel has ever produced. And that's the main point that I'm getting to here, is that WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier are not just good TV, they're some of the best content Marvel has ever produced. Some of the best stuff in the MCU. And a lot of that is... and the reason for that is that these shows take advantage of the nature of TV very well. And I'll even go as far to say is they do something TV has never done before, which is take a universe, a world that has already been established in film, and like expand on that world and world build taking great advantage of the longer time of TV. Both WandaVision and especially Falcon and Winter Soldier feel like they could be movies, but they benefit so much more from being TV shows. WandaVision benefits in an obvious way. The trapped in a sitcom format works better when you start out. That show does a really good job pacing-wise of starting out. Like, the first episode is essentially a normal sitcom episode with 1 or 2 moments of, like, weird Twilight Zone-y what is going on here, and then each episode builds substantially until you get to the end where WandaVision, I'm trying to be relatively spoiler light. I'll give a warning if I go into spoilers, minor spoilers for WandaVision. Its conclusion, the ending of its mysteries, like, the ending of that is not quite as strong as the first part. It kind of devolves into standard Marvel fare at the end, but there's still this gripping, there's a gripping thing in the middle, which I'll talk about in a little bit, when I give more specific thoughts. But, like, that shows the TV format is obvious. It's so you can get this slow burn of the sitcom, and I really appreciate that they didn't just rush into the superhero stuff. Falcon and Winter Soldier also takes advantage of the TV format, but in a much more subtle way. It does it to, like, flesh out not only Falcon and Winter Soldier, 2 characters who had very little development before. These TV shows are amazing for, like, making me suddenly care about Wanda and Vision and felt like these characters I don't care about, didn't care about before. But Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision spends so much of its time in this sitcom realm that it doesn't really have a lot of MCU world building. It does in a certain way, but that's not the focus of it. Falcon and the Winter Soldier has a lot of, like, what are the results, like, showing you the after effects of not just the snap, but specifically the blip, which is everybody coming back. And WandaVision has this too, but it doesn't spend as much time, it doesn't have as much time to spend on it. It's like showing the political instabilities of a world where half the people disappeared for 5 years, and then half of those people return. This is why, minor side tangent, but this is why I disagree with those who say that Endgame cancels out the consequences of Infinity War, because there are, like, if half of the people in the world disappeared, just poof, into dust, there'd be so many unforeseen other consequences, extra deaths, like cars that were being driven suddenly not being driven anymore and crashing into another car, babies that wouldn't be able to survive without their parents. Like, there's a ton of dark implications, and to be fair to those critics, the MCU doesn't really explore those implications. I really want a show that's, like, set in the 5-year snap window, but the closest we've gotten so far is these TV shows, which Falcon and the Winter Soldier does spend a lot of time exploring what it's like for the people that came back versus the people that were there for those 5 years, built new lives, and then had those lives kind of removed from them to make way for all the people who came back and wanted their lives back to normal. And even WandaVision has it too. There's a character whose mother was dying when she got snapped, and then when she returns in the blip, which is kind of a stupid name, but whatever, it's what they refer to when people comes back, her mother's dead. But I'm really side tangenting here. I just really find that part of the MCU interesting, the 5-year time bubble, and then the wider ramifications of what happens, and you never get that in the movies, because the movies are so focused on, like, I don't know, showing Spider-Man traipsing around Europe, like in Far From Home or whatever. These TV shows are really our chance to get that, and we do get that. And that's just one reason why I like these TV shows so much. One relatively spoiler-free reason. The other reason is that they really just, they take advantage of the fact that you already know these characters from the movies, so they don't have to spend the whole first episode, like, introducing you to people. They can just reintroduce characters, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, spoiler alert, it's in the trailers, reintroduces Baron Zemo from Civil War, and they turn him from, like, a kind of boring but interesting motivations villain to, like, one of the most interesting, like, weird kind of anti-hero / villain characters in the MCU. Baron Zemo is a delight in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and once he's added, the show gets way more interesting. And because it's a show They have time to give Baron Zemo a bunch of screen time. They have time to give Agent Carter a bunch of screen time. They have time to give John Walker a bunch of screen time, which I guess now is a good time to get into that. Might as well, 10 minutes into the video. The perfect example of the format of TV benefiting these stories and making them more interesting is John Walker. Basically, he's the John Army Man soldier superhero stereotype, and at the end of episode 1, they appoint him the position of the new Captain America, basically, because Sam the Falcon said he didn't want the shield, so they give this war vet the shield, and he's young, he's kind of a hot shot. If this were a movie, he would be the same one-note evil version of the hero that we've seen a dozen times in the MCU. You know, the evil Ant-Man, the evil Iron Man. He'd just be evil Cap. Literally, evil Cap. But because this is a show, they have time to show him being, genuinely a person who wants to do the right thing. Corrupted by his influence, his power, and then eventually the ability, he gets his hands on a super serum potion, so he's able to turn himself into a super soldier. Then after something happens to his friend, this is where we're getting into major spoilers for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because WandaVision's a little easier to talk about what I like without spoiling, because what I like is basically that Twilight Zone sitcom-y mystery element that kind of lessens as the show goes on, but there's still something hooking it. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a lot of what I like is unexpected. So I'm gonna keep talking, and I'll wave my hands or something when I'm done with spoilers. John Walker and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we see him go from soldier trying to do the right thing, and we see him turn into not even fully evil Cap. His evolution into evil Cap, U.S. agent, isn't even complete by the end of the show. We see him enraged by grief, losing his friend, do a very bad thing, and one of the darkest scenes the MCU has ever made. He basically chases down this guy and bashes his head in with the shield. It's not quite ultraviolet because it's tasteful. They don't show the guy, but we see him slam the shield down, and we see him hold the shield, the bloodied shield. It's actually very dark and very mature, and feels in line with something from The Boys, like Homelander from The Boys, or Omni-Man and Invincible. These kinds of dark superheroes that maybe aren't so heroic at all, and he does it in public, and he's disgraced. And so the John Walker new Cap storyline is probably the most interesting and unique to the MCU. In terms of the MCU, they haven't done anything like this before, and it's probably the strongest part of the show. If this were a movie, it would not be. It would be a kind of rushed, forgettable story. But instead, it's a really dark character drama, because this is a fundamentally optimistic cinematic universe. It's not like The Boys' cynical anti-hero pessimism. So to see this guy be corrupted by power and also be corrupted by the system, that's the other thing that's really good about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is they comment. There's actually a lot of strong political commentary. That you meet this character named Isaiah Bradley, who is a super soldier that the U.S. government, a black super soldier that the U.S. government just experimented on and basically tortured and kept in prison for years, and he's just done with it. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He's of the opinion, he tells Sam that he makes a pretty damn good argument for why Sam the Falcon shouldn't even want to be the next Captain America. Why no black man should want to be the next Captain America. It's very political, and it almost made me not even want the Falcon to become Captain America. But then when he does, that's just as satisfying, and he solves the conflict with the villains because the villain is not John Walker. The villain's like this other group that was screwed over by the snap and the blip and wants to like stop the government from screwing them over more. And he solves the conflict not by just beating them up, but by like talking to the government and like talking them, giving this very like heroic speech, which some might find preachy, but I'm more impressed because I didn't think Marvel would go to like racial commentary and commentary on police brutality. At one point, John Walker is shouting at these government people who are disbarring him, like, "You guys made me. I'm just doing what your system told me to do." It's not like, I'm sure you can find harsher examples of commentary, but the fact that the MCU is even willing to go this far, the fact that Marvel is even willing to use their enormous platform that they have to even go this far is incredibly impressive. And I think WandaVision might be... I'm going to wave for anti-spoilers. WandaVision might be a better show, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a more important show. It has a lot more to say. WandaVision is more fun, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier has a lot to say, and both are fun. And WandaVision has a lot to say too. There's a very serious storyline about grief and dealing with loss, because obviously, spoilers, that's why Wanda is in this sitcom realm with Vision, is she lost Vision, she's grieving, and it really goes into all the, not just him that she lost, but also everything that she lost. We learn more about her history than we ever learned from the movies. And it's like, it's gripping. It's kind of heartbreaking. I think Elizabeth Olsen should easily be up for an Emmy nod for her performance as Wanda in WandaVision, which is something I can't say about them. It's just both of these shows. WandaVision has this really good message about grief and loss, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier has this really good, like, political commentary, like, talking about being black in America and talking about police. They don't go quite as far with the, like, system commentary as they could, but they go a lot farther than you'd expect. I would say both shows are solid 8 out of 10s. They're both very, very good, and especially in the realm of TV, again, they do something TV has never really done before, which is take like a established movie universe and just expand on it in this way. I mean, there are TV show spin-offs of movies, but those are always just that, spin-offs, and the MCU has had those before. These shows, at least Falcon and the Winter Soldier, feels like it's going to have a pretty major effect on, like, the stuff that comes later. Like, they're making a Captain America 4 now, with Sam as Captain. Like, these are pretty big things. And but the shows work in self-containment as well. They work in self-containment, and they also work to bolster this movie universe. And personally, both of these shows, WandaVision kind of, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier especially, just make me a lot more excited for what Marvel has to offer in the future. Like, even though like, Loki looks kind of generic. It looks like it's going to be a fun, like, action show, but I'm not expecting much more than that. Or I wouldn't be if WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier weren't quite so good. Neither is, like, 10 out of 10 perfect, but both are definably, like, in the S tier of MCU projects, like 8 or 9s out of 10. Very good stuff. And that's basically all my thoughts on them. I could go into more detail about each, but it's been a while since I've watched them. And really, I just want to get this video out to say that, like, if you're not into Marvel stuff, if you're tired of cape shit, as they say, excuse my language, but that's the term, these shows are not that cape shitty. They're pretty interesting. I would argue these shows are kind of less cape shit than Invincible is. And Invincible is a much more, I don't know if much more popular, but it's being considered much more, like, I could make a video on that show. I also think that show is an 8 out of 10, but for me, what that show is like one particular storyline is a 10 out of 10, and the rest are like 5 to 7 out of 10 storylines. So it's much more unbalanced than these Marvel shows, which are both solid 8 out of 10 high quality kind of event television shows. And I hope Loki pans out. If they can keep the ball rolling, there's really something special going on here. Have a nice day, and arrivederci!